Disclaimer. This video contains music and video footage that I do not own. A list of credits can be found at the end of the video. This video contains brief descriptions of sexual and violent content and contains discussion of real-life murders in an educational context. Viewer discussion is advised. This video is not intended for children under the age of 13, nor is my channel. The Child Online Privacy Protection Act, or COPPA, states that nobody under the age of 13 should have, among other things, a YouTube account. Hello boys and girlos, and welcome to another Lost Media video. I love music. I imagine the majority of people watching this do too. And like all media, music can end up slipping through the cracks of time and space, and end up missing for various reasons. So today, I'm cataloging 14 pieces of lost music and their stories. Without further ado, let's get started. SiIvaGunner is a parody channel of the music-riffing YouTube channel Gilda Sunner. SiIvaGunner is notorious for the romantic mashups, often including questionable content. After SiIvaGunner's first channel was terminated, all of their videos were removed. Most of them were re-uploaded to the new channel, but some were still missing. Some highlights of the formerly lost rips include a collection of rips uploaded on September 11th, 2016, which made fun of the 9/11 terrorist attacks, which happened 15 years prior, and were removed from that very reason, even though some of the rips didn't even contain 9/11 jokes. A rip of Ashley's song from WarioWare Touched, which was removed for one of the staff members throwing in a line about having anal sex with Ashley, whose oldest reported age is 15. That didn't go over very well. A rip of Bad Moon Rising, which featured Moon Man, a version of McDonald's Back Tonight, except that he was a white supremacist. A live stream of an episode of The Nut Shack entitled Obama Does the Mambo, after which the screen turned black before beaming the audience. This stream was later copyright claimed by ABS-CBN, who owns The Nut Shack. A rip of Peach Beach and Daisy Cruiser from Mario Kart Double Dash, which was removed for containing pornographic audio. A rip of Puzzle Room from Kirby Planet Robobot, which was taken down for containing imagery and linking to footage of a baby born with Harlequin ichthyosis. I won't show you any images of that for obvious reasons, but feel free to Google it if you feel like it. Apparently this rip was uploaded by staff member LaRue's Bird, who intended to reference the infamous Russian bootleg of Felix the Cat. LaRue's Bird originally wanted to use an image of Kirby with flayed skin, but couldn't find an image like that. Later on, LaRue's was kicked off the team and an apology was posted. A video entitled The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, which is nothing but static with no sound. A rip of the title theme from Seven Grand Dad, which only contained jokes that the community disliked, including the aforementioned Harlequin baby, being replaced with an entirely different version 1 hour later. A rip of the Caillou theme song from the PC game, which featured infamous footage brought to the internet's attention by YouTuber Scare Theater, in which an unknown male voice sings the Caillou theme with a child in anguish behind a darkened glass door, believed to be a shower, as part of a possible child exploitation video. According to SiIvaGunner, the video was found on 4chan's export, before crediting the source 3 weeks later when asked to do so, before the rip was taken down. Currently, only 3 known rips are still lost, speaking of environmental noises from Super Smash Bros. Brawl being altered with video of a guy punching a pigeon, with some unsavory text on screen I won't read out loud, while Screens We Are the Champions is playing in the background, which was allegedly uploaded by a rogue member and almost instantly removed. A rip of Final Level from Mighty Switch Force, and a video simply titled Stronger.wav, which is allegedly uploaded by accident. None of these 3 rips can be found online. The other ones I listed, though, are, should you want to see them. To cleanse our palates a bit, here's a silly one. In fact, a snub from the 5 absolutely hilarious pieces of Lost Media video. Schlatt Walk is a song that was released by rapper Prince Zuko in October of 2019, which was filled with gags based around YouTuber Jay Schlatt and SMP Live. The original version was updated due to Zuko remixing an instrumental he didn't have the rights to use. When Zuko deleted most of his social media, including his YouTube, it made most of his videos difficult, if not impossible, to come by. Among these, a lot of his obscure tracks and non-music related videos were sacrificed. One of these was the updated music video for Schlatt Walk. Zuko's community post being deleted doesn't help in finding this video, as only 2 of his music videos have surfaced, being for the songs Chirpin' and Schlatt Walk's original version. The audio of Schlatt Walk is still readily available for consumption, but the video is still lost. It does not help that he named himself after a very popular character from the Avatar series, Prince Zuko of the Fire Nation. If there are any other music videos out there, I can't find them. The only reason I know that these 2 exist is because of the Lost Media Wiki saying that the music video for Chirpin' is found, that a re-upload of the original Schlatt Walk's music video was linked on the wiki. All Lights Truck on the Harry M. Drooling was the first release by Canadian music collective Godspeed You, Black Emperor. Only 33 copies were released of All Lights Truck on the Harry M. Drooling on audio cassette when the album was released in 1994. Very few people are known to own or have owned the cassette, aside from the record label, Constellation Records, who own the master copies. In September 2013, Reddit user Casket Jack claimed to have a copy of All Lights Locked on the Harry M. Drooling in storage, and he even showed photos of the album itself as proof. He uploaded 2 songs from the album titled Random Lovely Moncton Blues and Dad Mom Daddy to bayfiles.net, where they were quickly mirrored to YouTube and archived. Casket Jack then decided to not upload anything else after fearing legal trouble from Constellation Records. Since then, all lights bucked on the Harry Amp Drooling has remained lost aside from the two aforementioned tracks, with nobody else ever uploading the remainder of the other 25 tracks online or coming out as having the album. Alright, it's time to make amends for one of my sins. Back in 2018, I made a 17-episode series titled The Search for Lost Media, which are most of the only videos people remember me for. The 14th episode, which is the only viewer request, was on M3D. So, Mama Luigi Lost Media, if you're watching this, hi, I hope I made it up to you. Back on topic, M3D was a direct-to-VHS series of 3D animated music videos of nursery rhymes, released in the 1990s, and created by songwriter and composer Badi Marcel Natia, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, somewhere in Israel. Some M3D segments have found their way into other shows, like Picasso's Place and Natia's own Tommy and the Copy Boys. Currently, Volumes 1, 3, and 4 have been fully found, with Volume 2 nowhere to be seen. Multiple people have claimed to have Volume 2, but it hasn't surfaced. Nobody knows how many volumes there are, but it's speculated to be up to 13 volumes, although this is unconfirmed. Information is incredibly scarce on this topic, so let me know what you can find about it. I Wish You Well was an independently recorded song by Imagine Dragons that didn't make the cut to be transferred from those works to Night Visions, their first studio album, and their subsequent EPs. Now, many of their independent tracks didn't make the cut, but I Wish You Well was different. Surprisingly, I Wish You Well had been given the studio treatment, but never formally released, only being partially seen in a teaser for the song, which has since gone missing. So what happened? By April 2010, Imagine Dragons had released 2 EPs, being Imagine Dragons and Hell in Silence. After a concert at the Bunkhouse Saloon that month, the band recorded more music at the Blue Microphone Studio in Los Angeles. One of these songs is I Wish You Well. The teaser for the song showed up in an episode of the Blue Microphones podcast on May 7th, 2010, mostly focusing on the guitar solo. The podcast never states when they plan to release the song, and when the third EP, It's Time, released without I Wish You Well, the song was forgotten for quite a while. The only footage we have of it now is that teaser and a full concert performance, which sounds like it was recorded by a phone shoved in a tuba underwater, with blurry monochromatic visuals on top of that. However, this is also the only way to listen to the song in its entirety. Time for another Search for Lost Media refugee. This time it's for an episode planned for Season 2. I have no idea where the Season 2 doc went, but I remember that this song was featured on an episode titled Lost Children Songs. Anyway, back to the subject at hand. In the Phineas and Ferb episode Out to Launch, Phineas and Ferb go to the star that their father named, and it's actually a place called the Shooting Star Milkshake Bar. A montage ensues of the boys enjoying their time there to a song by the same name. A full version of the song was produced and played at Disney Hollywood Studios' Phineas and Ferb meet and greet, but it was never released. The version is longer, with added verses. A YouTube channel named Sen, Momo, and I went to the meet and greet and is the most cited source for the full song, albeit the fact that the song is overlapped with other amusement park sounds. Then, on December 28th, 2020, a YouTuber by the name of Supersonic Style uploaded a track from the game Phineas and Ferb and the Transportinators of Doom, which was the instrumental for the full track of the song, available as a secret unlockable track. As of now, the full version hasn't been released. Leviathan was a scratch song from the Gorillaz' third album, Plastic Beach. The song was about a man having paranoid delusions about a whale trying to kill him. Notably, it was a collaboration with the band The Horrors, who were left out of the album thanks to Leviathan's exclusion. According to Joshua Hayward of The Horrors in an interview, "Oh, that song. There's a bit of it on YouTube. Someone from the studio uploaded it. I think it didn't work at all with the record. Our improvised krautrock jam didn't fit with all those Snoop Dogg songs and the vibe of the record in general. I'm not sure if someone else would have done that in our place. Not in a hip-hop album." The only remnants of the song are a 50-second sample used in the documentary The Making of Plastic Beach. Cricket and Clover, also known as the Cabin album, would have been the second album by Panic at the Disco, being the predecessor to Pretty Odd. After touring for their previous album, A Fever You Can't Sweat Out, Panic decided to begin writing for the new album in February 2007, being put into heavy production in March 2007. Notably, the album was recorded in a mountain cabin in Nevada, where the band got cabin fever. Conceptually, the album was far different from anything Panic had done yet, being described as a story of a doomed affair where songs would lead into one another and give off fairy tale energy in both its storytelling and its music. Rob Mathis, the band's producer, said, "There were no choruses, just parts that didn't repeat." John Walker, the band's bassist at the time, said, "The lyrics weren't written as a band. We were writing the lyrics, putting them to a piano, and trying to figure out what to do from there. Mathis also recalled that the band wasn't sure if they wanted to use real instruments, to the point where drummer Spencer Smith wanted to make a drum kit out of egg crates, glass, and wood cartons. Ross said, "To hell with our guitars." Here's what we know about the album's contents. 7 songs were named to be in Cricket and Clover by Kerrang! Magazine. These were: There Was Once a Man from Nantucket, Pokin' Around, which was later reused for Pretty Odd, at least in name, I Don't Have a Shirt, But I've Got a Hat, Fill Me Up, Porridge, which was speculated to be bridged with Fill Me Up to make Fill Me Up with Porridge, Nearly Witches, which was only a demo at the time, having the demo version be released on the Fall Out Boy mixtape Paul Revere Jumpsuit Apparatus, and was later made into a full song when Panic's third album, Vices and Virtues, came out. It's True Love, which is the only song exclusive to the album to have ever been played live, being readily available on the internet. The album was scrapped due to the band's over-ambition with the album, trying to make it grander than anything they could actually do. Ross put it best by saying, "If it were up to us, we would have written forever, and it never would have been finished." Finished album does not exist. As Mathis said, "There's no holy grail of reel-to-reel tapes sitting in someone's basement. I wish there were." Once Upon a Time in Shaolin is the 7th album by hip-hop group Wu-Tangclan. The album was marketed as the last Wu-Tang sounding album to ever be made, and featured every single member of the group who was still alive, even if they had left previously. It was recorded in secret for 6 years, and only 1 copy of it was pressed. The album was barred from commercial release for 88 years, in reference to the number 8 and its variants thereof, being a common motif for the Wu-Tang Clan. The reason for this was to make the album like an art object straight out of the Renaissance era. The album was intended to be passed around and played at a variety of events worldwide, but was instead sold at auction for $2 million to infamous entrepreneur Martin Shkreli under contract that he may not profit off of the album, but playing it at events or posting it online was perfectly okay. Despite this, he only did it once. He played the intro to Once Upon a Time in Shaolin after Donald Trump won the 2016 US presidential election. Many snippets of the album exist online, but it's impossible to trace from which songs the snippets are from. A 13-minute portion was played for 154 people at MoMA PS1 on March 2nd, 2015, though none of it was recorded due to the hosts confiscating visitors' cell phones beforehand. Later on, Shkreli was found guilty of fraud and, among other things, forfeited Once Upon a Time in Shaolin to the US government. On April 17, 2018, Method Man and Ghostface Killah from the band appeared on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert in an attempt to get the album back, specifically calling out U.S. Attorney General at the time, Jeff Sessions. Shortly after, they also joked that they were teaming up with former FBI Director James Comey to get the album back from the government. On July 27, 2021, the U.S. government sold the album to an anonymous buyer to pay off Shkreli's debt, and since then, no news has come up about the album's whereabouts or if we'll ever see it again. Ren and Stimpy is one of the original Nicktoons on Nickelodeon and has since become one of the most famous cartoons of all time. What a lot of people don't know, however, is that allegedly, according to Stimpy's voice actor, Billy West, on the Nerds podcast, Kurt Cobain of Nirvana fame came to the Spumco headquarters with the intent of recording a song for Ren and Stimpy. The executives didn't like the song and threw it, and Kurt Cobain, out, allegedly due to Cobain's arrogance. Since then, no confirmation of this rumor has ever been stated in either direction, and after Cobain's death, his estate has yet to comment on it. John Kricfalusi, the creator of the show, was interviewed in July 2019 about it, stating he has no memory of it. This makes it highly likely that the song doesn't exist. This is actually 2 pieces shoved into 1 entry, and it'll make this a whole lot easier and leave me room to talk about more things. Charles Manson is an infamous cult leader responsible for the Manson murders, which resulted in the deaths of 8 people. He was then locked in prison whilst his cult members were sentenced to death. He made music though, and that's what we're talking about today. First, we have the untitled project made before Manson got locked up in prison. As it turns out, in 1968, Manson became friends with Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys, and felt his connection with Wilson would allow him to become a successful musician. Things didn't go as planned. Manson technically got his wish with the release of Lie, the Love and Terror Cult, released in 1970. However, before then, Manson was invited to Wilson's brother Brian's house to record music. Allegedly, there were 10 tracks, all recorded in studio quality. Manson would only take 1 vocal take per track, and was said by the people there to have talent. However, in 1969, Wilson went behind Manson's back and took his song Cease to Exist, changed a few words around, and released it as Never Learned Not to Love on the Beach Boys' album 2020. Manson was angered and sent death threats to Wilson, and allegedly this event inspired the Manson murders to begin with, albeit that the Beach Boys weren't victims of the crimes. Since then, nothing has been released from the project, though some songs were speculated to be used on Lie, the Love and Terror Cult, released only a year later. Second is a project he made while in San Quentin State Prison. Manson wrote a letter to Black Flag frontman Henry Rollins. After some back and forth, a deal was settled to have the album, titled Completion, to be released in 1984. However, when news broke that SST Records was to be releasing an album by cult leader in prison, for murdering 8 people by proxy, it didn't go over too well. Apparently, Greg Ginn, the founder of SST and a member of Black Flag, was sent death threats before the release of the album was cancelled. 5 copies are known to exist. Rollins owns 2, and presumably the other 3 were owned by Manson. However, after his death, it's unknown where those other 3 copies went. Cigarettes and Valentines would have been the 7th album from American punk rock band Green Day. Made as a follow-up to their 6th album, Warning, the master recordings from Cigarettes and Valentines were allegedly stolen close to the end of production. Instead of re-recording, they decided to press on, and went on to make American Idiot. The band considered that theft a blessing in disguise, as Cigarettes and Valentines wasn't maximum Green Day. Bassist Mike Dirnt said that the backups had been made, but they just weren't the same as the originals, and the band never did anything with them. In a 2016 interview, the band elaborated on the status of Cigarettes and Valentines. The rough mixes were recovered, but went unreleased. Lead vocalist/guitarist Billy Joe Armstrong said that the album was pretty much in the vault right now, and that it was unlikely that it would see a release. Dirnt said that the band tends to look forward rather than reaching back. There are 5 songs confirmed to be on the album, with a 6th that was rumored to be on it. They are Cigarettes and Valentines, which was later recorded live and added to the album Awesome as Puck, Too Much Too Soon, which is allegedly confirmed to be on the album by Armstrong, and was later released on the American Idiot B-sides, Waste Away, which was also confused for Walk Away, as an interview between DJ Rostar and Mike Dirnt. Rostar misspoke and said Walk Away instead of Waste Away. Walk Away was later featured on Green Day's 11th album, Tre. Sleepyhead and Dropout, which are 2 songs that we know nothing else about. On March 8th, 2019, friend of the band John Roker posted a picture of the reference CD for American Idiot's B-sides that was made for internal use. It's highly likely that some songs on the reference CD were recorded during the Cigarettes and Valentines sessions, due to the fact that 4 of the 5 confirmed songs and 1 rumored song from the album were listed on the CD. As of now, nothing else from Cigarettes and Valentines has been released. Your Favorite Martian was a virtual rap group created by Ray William Johnson in March of 2006. The group quickly became famous, and by 2012 they had 2.2 million subscribers on their YouTube channel. On May 9th, 2012, the band had started only doing cover songs because all original content was going toward the album they had just announced. However, only 6 months later, on November 30th, 2012, Johnson announced that this project has been retired. This was because of a dispute between Ray William Johnson and Maker Studios, who had funded Your Favorite Martian and the album. Maker tried to get Johnson into a contract with Maker, having more control over the joint intellectual property, and Maker taking 40% of Johnson's revenue. Johnson didn't like this and declined. After that, Maker cut funding of the album, retiring the project entirely. The album was purported to have 32 songs recorded for it, although only 10 would be featured on the album. It's unknown what would have happened to the other 22 had the album been released. A final mashup of the band's previous songs, titled Boom Headshot, was posted to the channel, wherein Johnson announced the new album, and that they would be taking 6 weeks to record it, which they would release as early as November 2012. When the time came, the YouTube channel was updated to say, this project has been retired. Since then, nothing has come of the album. Cosmic Toast Studios, who animated the music videos, shut down in 2016, making the likelihood that the album will ever come to fruition even lower. Undergrads was an American-Canadian MTV animated series centered around 4 college undergraduate freshmen and lasted from April 22nd to August 12th, 2001, lasting for 13 episodes. When Undergrads aired in the US, the series featured recordings of music from popular artists during the 1990s and 2000s. However, most of these songs were replaced in later airings and international broadcasts. MTV had a habit of only licensing music for TV airings during a specific span, as seen with Clone High, Daria, Beavis and Butthead, and Video Mods, which we've seen on this channel before, among many others. Undergrads was no exception. The soundtrack of the show has become lost in time, and nobody is really sure as to which songs were actually used in the show. What we do know is as follows. According to Sabam, the Belgian Music Rights Society, One Step Closer by Linkin Park was featured in episode 4, titled New Friends. Sabam's database listed all 13 of the show's episodes along with the show's theme song, The Click by Good Charlotte, as undistributable works, as their details were unavailable. According to IMDb, episode 5, titled Drunks, featured Butterfly by Crazy Town, I Am the Bulb God by Kid Rock, Rock and Roll is Dead by Lenny Kravitz, Music by Madonna, Pinch Me by the Bare Naked Ladies, and Everlong by the Foo Fighters. On Canadian and international broadcasts, covers of songs from the 1980s and songs by Canadian indie rock artists were used. The songs were also the only songs listed on Undergrads' website. It's unknown how many songs were used in the show, or if we'll ever know which ones were used. Even rarer are the versions with those songs in them from the earliest airings of the show. Unless someone can track down all of the first airings on recording, there's not really a way we'd be able to know for sure. thanks for watching this video. Do you have any pieces of lost media you'd like to see me talk about? Let me know in the comments below. Anyway, I'm gonna go work on my Psychonauts grind before the sequel releases. See you guys then.